Did you know that ancient African kingdoms were reshaping global trade centuries before European contact? We're not talking about fictional Wakanda, but real, powerful empires. Today, we're diving into a world where Lego bricks meet African history, the incredible realm of Lego MOCs. MOC stands for My Own Creation. In the Lego community, it signifies custom builds not officially produced by Lego. Think of it as fan-made art, often shared on platforms like Rubricable, Flickr, Instagram, YouTube, and dedicated fan sites. These aren't your everyday Lego sets following instructions. These are unique visions brought to life, brick by brick. One artist is leading a powerful movement in the Lego world. Ekow Nimako is a Ghanaian-Canadian Lego artist. He is known for his large-scale black Lego sculptures. He's been featured in Wired and other prominent media outlets for his use of Lego bricks to build African and Black diaspora-inspired art. What sets Nimako apart? His deliberate choice of all black bricks. This turns a child's toy into a profound statement about Black identity, mythology, and historical memory. But Nimako is not alone. Across the internet, Lego enthusiasts are building MOCs inspired by the rich tapestry of African history. The Lego Ideas platform has even seen fan submissions for African-themed sets, such as Lego Africa, Motor Rickshaw, Tailor and Brickmaker, and Lego Africa Minibus and Container Bar. While these are just proposals, they highlight the desire for more African representation in the Lego world. So, what historical subjects are these MOCs often depicting? Let's take a journey through some of the most prominent African kingdoms and empires. First, the Ghana Empire. Flourishing from the 6th to 13th centuries CE, centered in the Western Sahel, in modern Mauritania, Mali, and Senegal. It became wealthy through controlling trans-Saharan trade. Gold and salt were especially valuable. The Mali Empire rose in the 13th century CE and reached its height in the 14th century. Its most famous ruler was Manso Musa, who reigned from approximately 1312 to 1337 CE. Manso Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324-1325 became legendary. This was due to the scale of his wealth and its effect on markets in Egypt and the wider Mediterranean world. The journey demonstrated African imperial wealth. Great Zimbabwe developed between the 11th and 15th century CE, reaching its peak urban and political prominence in the 13th-15th centuries. It is famous for its massive dry stone architecture, linked to long-distance trade in gold, ivory, and other goods through the Indian Ocean network. Don't let anyone tell you that Great Zimbabwe was built by outsiders. Modern archaeology has proven that it was built by African ancestors of the Shona-speaking peoples. The site includes monumental dry stone walls built without mortar, some reaching several meters high. Then, the Songhai Empire, which rose in the 15th century. Major expansion occurred under rulers such as Sani Ali, who ruled from 1464 to 1492, and Askia Muhammad I, who ruled from 1493 to 1528. It was one of the largest empires in African history. Next, the Benin Kingdom. It flourished in what is now southern Nigeria, and it was especially powerful from the 13th to 19th centuries. It is famous for the Benin bronzes, which are highly sophisticated metal artworks. Finally, the Congo Kingdom, a major Central African state from the 14th century onward. It was centered in areas of present-day Angola, the Republic of the Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Gabon. African kingdoms had advanced urban life long before colonial rule. Benin City was described by European observers as a large, organized city with notable planning and craftsmanship. The Kingdom of Congo had diplomatic relations with Portugal after the late 15th century. Now, you might be wondering, why are these Lego MOCs so important? They challenge the narrative. African history Lego MOCs matter because they make major African civilizations visible to audiences. These people may never encounter them otherwise. They challenge the false idea that African history is mostly colonial history, and they translate academic history into a visual, accessible medium. This encourages younger audiences to learn geography, architecture, and heritage through play. A well-researched MOC can help explain how trans-Saharan trade worked, why gold-producing regions shaped imperial power, how stone architecture developed in southern Africa, and how urban centers and court culture functioned in pre-colonial Africa. Lego MOCs centered on Africa can strengthen diasporic identity, inspire African and Black creators, and correct stereotypes that reduce Africa to poverty, war, or colonial trauma. They present Africa as historically innovative, urban, wealthy, and politically complex. Sites like Great Zimbabwe, Mali's historic centers, and Benin City's royal heritage remain central to modern national identities. Preservation of archaeological sites is tied to tourism, education, and cultural sovereignty. African creators increasingly use digital platforms to reclaim historical narratives. Lego MOCs fit into a broader movement of 3D art, animation, educational YouTube content, museum-inspired storytelling, Afrofuturism, and speculative design. Artists like Ekow and Nimako show how African history resonates globally, especially among Black diaspora communities in Canada, the US, the UK, and the Caribbean. These builds can serve as symbolic bridges between ancestral memory and modern creativity. The lack of African historical sets in mainstream toy lines reflects a broader issue: underrepresentation in media, museums, publishing, and education. Fan-built MOCs help fill that gap, but they also highlight the need for more institutional support for African narratives. One of the biggest historical controversies is not about Lego itself, but about the history Lego MOCs are trying to represent. European colonial narratives often claim that Africans could not have built major stone cities, large trade empires, or sophisticated metallurgy. Great Zimbabwe is the classic example of this denial, and archaeology later proved those claims false. African history-themed fan projects have sometimes struggled to gain traction compared with European or fantasy subjects. Whether from market assumptions, licensing concerns, or vague sensitivity objections, the result has often been the same: African history gets less visibility. Some Lego builds can accidentally flatten or distort history if they mix eras from different centuries, use anachronistic clothing or architecture, simplify religious or political systems, or present Africa as a single culture rather than a continent of many states and traditions. In addition to denied architectural history, Africa has suffered major looting of artifacts. The Benin bronzes, looted in 1897 during the British punitive expedition against Benin City, remain one of the most important restitution debates in world heritage. That controversy connects directly to representation: what gets displayed, who owns it, and whose history gets told. So, the next time you see a Lego MOC inspired by African history, remember that it's more than just a toy. It's a statement, a celebration, and a powerful tool for education and understanding. These MOCs are helping to build a more complete and accurate picture of our shared human past. They are helping to rebuild history, brick by brick.